All right, so today we're diving into some pretty surprising stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski.
Okay.
You know, the MSNBC duo who have spent years publicly clashing with Donald Trump.
Yes.
And they're meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago.
Wow.
After his 2024 election victory.
Yeah, that's a real head-scratcher, isn't it?
It is.
It goes against everything we've come to expect from them.
Right.
I mean, years of these fiery exchanges.
Exactly.
You know, the comparisons to dictators, all the accusations flying back and forth, and now this sudden push for, as they put it, restarting communications.
Exactly. It's like watching some political drama take a sharp turn into an alternate reality.
I know.
And to make things even more intriguing, Brzezinski even acknowledged that for many of the nearly 80 million Americans who voted for Trump, issues like election denialism January 6th, those weren't really their primary concerns.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? It's like this disconnect between certain media narratives and a significant portion of the electorate.
Right.
So while Scarborough and Brzezinski's brand of criticism really resonated with their audience, it may have alienated a much larger part of the American public.
So is this a calculated move on their part?
What?
Are they trying to bridge the divide or just trying to look like they are?
It's probably a combination of factors.
Okay.
On the one hand, there's a potential for some genuine introspection.
Okay.
Perhaps they're recognizing the need to understand perspectives outside their usual echo chamber.
Right.
On the other hand, though, there's the media landscape to think about.
Yeah.
MSNBC has reportedly been facing this viewership decline.
Right.
So could this be a strategic attempt to kind of regain relevance by maybe tapping into a broader audience?
Now we can't forget about Trump and all this.
Of course not.
According to Fox News, he described the meeting as extremely cordial and even claimed they praised his campaign as flawless.
Oh, wow.
You know, knowing Trump, I imagine that went down pretty well.
Well, indeed, Trump is known to relish praise, especially from those he sees as his adversaries.
Right.
But, and this is crucial, he also emphasized being open to the press only if treated fairly.
Okay.
That sounds like a carefully placed caveat, wouldn't you say?
Almost like a reminder of his power.
Right.
And a warning against any, future transgressions.
Exactly.
So it seems each party came into this meeting with their own motivations.
Yeah.
What do you think Scarborough and Brzezinski hope to gain? And what about Trump?
For Scarborough and Brzezinski, it's worth exploring whether this is a genuine effort to try to understand the other side of the political spectrum.
Right.
Or a calculated move to reposition themselves in the media landscape.
Okay.
They do risk alienating their current audience without a guarantee of attracting new viewers.
Right.
It's a tightrope walk with potentially high stakes.
And for Trump, what's his end game?
Right.
Is it possible he actually wants a less combative second term? Especially now that he's not facing re-election.
It's a good question.
Remember, he did mention giving second chances.
Well, it's an intriguing thought.
It is.
Is this a genuine shift in his approach? Or a shrewd media tactic?
Yeah.
You know, he could be leveraging this meeting to project this image of openness and willingness to engage with his critics.
Right.
And it kind of fits into his long-standing pattern of using media attention, both positive and negative, to his advantage.
Okay, but we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Right.
Or, I guess, the firestorm on the internet.
Yeah.
The reaction to this meeting was explosive.
Oh, yeah.
Accusations of shamelessness bending the knee.
Wow.
One comment even compared it to Hitler getting more meeting requests than expected.
Well, the swift and intense backlash was practically inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a media environment where outrage often generates more engagement than nuance. And this situation perfectly exemplifies the deep polarization we're facing.
Yeah.
Where any attempt at dialogue, especially across political lines, is just met with instant suspicion and hostility.
Yeah.
And it's not even just the outrage, it's the speed, like how fast it all spreads.
Right.
This all happened within hours of the news.
I know.
It just shows how social media is like an accelerant.
Yeah.
Amplifying all these reactions. And it might be stifling any chance for a real conversation before it can even begin.
It's like a preemptive strike.
Right.
Against even the possibility of understanding.
Exactly.
So are you saying that even if they did want to bridge the divide,
this
backlash might just make it impossible.
Well, it definitely throws up some roadblocks.
Right.
They're basically walking through a minefield now.
Yeah.
They've got pressure from both sides.
I know.
Their own base might see them as sellouts.
Right.
While Trump's supporters are still skeptical.
Yeah. It's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
And it's unclear if they can pull it off.
So let's actually delve into the meeting itself.
Okay.
They discussed some really hot button topics.
Right.
Abortion, mass deportation, even the possibility of political retribution.
Yeah.
Did they say anything specific about where they agree or disagree?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Scarborough just mentioned they didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But that's pretty vague.
It is?
What's more telling, I think, is Brzezinski emphasizing restarting communications.
Okay.
Which suggests they're more focused on establishing a less adversarial relationship rather than finding common ground.
Okay, so maybe more about tone than substance.
Maybe.
But Scarborough did mention a source close to Trump, suggesting that this second term, without the pressure of re-election, could be different. Could this be a real shift in Trump's approach? Or is that just wishful thinking?
It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, without the need to appease his base.
Right.
Or, stick to campaign promises.
Right.
He might actually feel more free to govern differently.
Okay.
He could pursue policies that were too moderate before.
Right.
Or even collaborate with those he used to consider opponents.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
But it's hard to imagine.
I know.
With the Trump we know.
Yeah.
A guy who thrives on conflict.
Right.
And often seems to like provoking people.
Yeah.
Could he really moderate himself?
I think that's the real paradox here.
Yeah.
This meeting kind of challenges what we think about Trump.
Yeah.
It forces us to consider if even someone like him can actually evolve.
So what's the bottom line?
Well,
is this meeting a step towards healing the divide?
Okay.
Or just a bunch of political maneuvering?
It's probably a mix of both. This complicated interplay of motives and strategies for Scarborough and Brzezinski.
Yeah.
It could be a play for relevance.
Okay.
Trying to regain influence. In a media landscape that's changing so fast for Trump, it might be a chance to control the narrative.
Okay.
To present himself as this magnanimous leader offering an olive watch.
Okay, so what about us, the American people?
Yeah.
Where does all this leave us?
I think it reminds us that even in this polarized society we're in, dialogue isn't totally dead.
Okay.
Now, whether this meeting leads to real change, that's still to be seen.
Yeah.
But the fact that it happened at all, that's significant.
I agree.
It at least suggests a glimmer of hope.
Okay.
A possibility that even the fiercest adversaries can find a way to talk.
But let's not forget what Trump said.
Yeah.
About giving second chances.
Right.
But never being willing to give a fourth chance.
Uh-huh.
That seems pretty open to interpretation, right?
Absolutely. It adds another layer of ambiguity to his message of openness.
Right.
It could be genuine, or it could be a veiled threat.
Right.
A reminder that he's got his limits.
Yeah, it almost feels like a power play.
It does.
A little reminder that he's still in control.
Exactly.
So where does this leave the future of political discourse in America? Will things calm down?
Okay.
Or are we in for another 4 years of the same partisan battles?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
On the one hand, we have this meeting.
Right.
This attempt at talking.
Yeah.
Which hints at maybe bridging the divide.
Okay, but on the other hand...
On the other hand, there's that immediate and fierce backlash.
Right.
Which shows how deep this animosity runs. And then there's Trump's own words.
Yeah.
Which could be both conciliatory and cautionary. Like he's offering peace, but with conditions.
So where do we go from here? What are we supposed to make of all this?
I think it leaves us with this cautious optimism, but also a dose of realism. There's potential for good things, but there are also forces that could ruin it all. So we have to pay close attention, watch what happens, and be discerning.
Do you think this meeting is a turning point? A shift towards better political dialogue?
Okay.
Or is it just a blip?
Yeah.
Something we'll forget?
Right.
As we fall back into the same partisan fighting?
I want you to think about that.
Okay.
Watch what happens next.
Right.
Do Scarborough and Brzezinski keep engaging with Trump?
Okay.
Does he actually change his approach? Or do we just go back to the same old attacks?
Right.
I think the answers will tell us a lot about where our political discourse is headed. It's almost like he's offering this hand of friendship, but he's still got that fist clenched behind his back.
Right.
So there's this tension, like one wrong move and everything explodes again.
So we're left with more questions than answers, I guess.
It seems that way.
Is this a real attempt at peace?
Right.
Or is it just a big power play? Can people really have a good conversation in this crazy political environment?
Well, this situation really shows the challenges in American politics right now.
I think so.
We're dealing with these huge questions about truth and trust and how much the media influences us.
Right.
This whole meeting with all its weird twists and turns really brings those issues to light.
It's like it's hard to tell what's real anymore.
Exactly.
Is it political strategy?
Right.
Or media hype? Or just people being people?
It's all blurred together.
It is.
And that's why we need to be even more critical. We can't just take things at face value anymore.
So what should we keep in mind as listeners?
Well, first, remember that politics, especially with social media, it's never as simple as it looks.
Right.
There's always a strategy behind things.
Okay. What else?
Don't underestimate the power of a good story.
Okay.
The way things are presented, the words they use, even the pictures they show, all that shapes how we see things.
And the last thing.
Talk to people.
Okay.
Even people you disagree with.
Right.
Try to see their side of things. Question your own beliefs. And look for common ground.
Okay.
That's where real change comes from.
So it sounds like we need to be willing to talk, but also be a little skeptical.
Exactly.
And always think critically.
Right.
That's how we'll navigate this crazy political world.
Absolutely.
Well, that's our deep dive for today.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop questioning.